If you ever wondered who's the most problematic romantic hero in fairy tales, I'm about to tell you about him. He's gonna give you very Edward Cullen vibes, FYI. He's from the story The Imp Prince by Madame d'Aulnoy, who coined the term fairy tales. A king and queen have a son who is malformed on the inside and outside, as fat as the biggest man and as short as the smallest dwarf, and also an obstinate brute who causes the misery of everyone around him. So everybody hates him except for the king and queen who dote on him. You might be thinking, this dude's terrible from the start. But he's not our problematic hero. Our hero comes in when the king hires a tutor for his son, whose name is Furibon. The tutor's technically a prince who has a dormant claim to the throne. This is important just because his son is therefore also a prince, and that is our romantic hero. His name is Leandre. But I'm American, so I'm gonna call him Leander. Leander's the opposite of Furibon. He is kind and courteous and beautiful, and everyone at court loves him. So Furibon's jealous of Leander, and it comes to a head when these visiting ambassadors come and they think Leander is the prince, and they bow to him, and they think that Furibon is like his little dwarf, and they make fun of him. So Furibon attacks Leander and pulls out handfuls of his hair. So Leander's dad sends him away to live in a country estate, to protect him. So while Leander's at this estate, he comes across this snake that the servants want to kill, but he feels bad for it and it stares at him with these pleading eyes, and he's like, no, I'm gonna keep this snake as a pet. That'll be important later. Back at court, Furibon decides he wants to kill Leander. It says, however wicked princes may be, they will always have flatterers. Ain't that the truth? And so he gets these guys to go assassinate Leander. But it doesn't work. They attack him and he kills all of them. In classic Madame d'Aulnoy fashion, a lion comes out just during this attack and tries to kill Furibon. And Leander saves Furibon from the lion, but that doesn't stop him from again trying to kill him. So Leander's like, I just have to leave the kingdom. But before, he goes to say goodbye to the snake, but the snake has transformed into a beautiful fairy. Her name is Gentile, and she says that her people live 100 years without pain or aging and always being beautiful, but they have to spend 8 days as a snake every 100 years. And they're vulnerable during that time, and he protected her, so she wants to give him whatever he wants. She's like, you want diamonds? You want to be a king? You want to live forever? He's like, no, I want to be a lutin, or an imp, a spirit, because then I can do all that stuff. So she does this, and it makes him able to be invisible whenever he wants, that he can fly without wings, can enter and exit any place. She gives him a little red cap with parrot feathers and says, this'll make you invisible. And then these 3 roses. The first rose, if he shakes it, it will give him all the money he could require. The second rose, if he puts it on the bosom of a woman, it will tell him if she is faithful to him. And the third will prevent sickness and aging. So Leander decides to go off on some adventures, but before, he wants to go get revenge on Furibon. Using the red cap, he sneaks in, sees Furibon listening to a door, and nails his ear to the door. Then when Furibon's mother comes in and opens the door, it rips his ear off. It says he's bleeding like his throat got slit. He's screaming and crying. The queen is screaming and crying. And then Leander, still invisible, picks up sticks and beats them with them. I know they tried to kill him, but good lord. Then he goes to the queen's garden and tears up all of her most prized fruits and flowers to destroy them. Just because he's petty. But our story is only beginning. So Leander travels, and then he ends up helping all these maidens who need his help. He comes across a man who loves this girl who's going to be married to an old man she doesn't love. So as the wedding's about to happen, Leander gets invisible and goes and whispers in the parents' ears, if you make your daughter do this, you're gonna die within a week. So they let her marry the man she loves. He helps another girl who's in love with a dude but is being given as a Vestal virgin. Like in ancient Rome, the priestesses to Vesta, they had to be virgins their whole life like a nun. He stops it, and the man she wants to marry has no money, so he shakes his money rose and gives them tons of money so they can get married. Then he goes to this queen's court and falls in love with one of her ladies in waiting named Blondine. But Blondine does not want him. He gives her parties and brings her the rarest presents from every part of the globe, but she still doesn't want him. He's like, does she love someone else? So he puts the rose on her bosom and it wilts, showing him she does want someone else. He finds out that it's a musician who's really ugly, and he sees this as a betrayal. He sneaks in, invisible, on the musician playing songs for her that he thinks are detestable. And when she lets the musician kiss her hand, the outraged Leander flings himself on the impertinent musician. How dare he kiss her hand? And throws him off the balcony, knocking out the few teeth he had left in his head. And then he leaves after writing a letter to Blondine, reproaching her as she deserved, according to the author, having been so betrayed by this woman that he then wanders thinking, I'll never find love. Dude, all she did did was not want you, and you nearly murdered the man she loved. But we're like supposed to be on his side. Finally, he sees these 4 men abducting this young girl. He uses his invisibility to fight all 4 of them and kill them all. Then the girl tells him, hey, I'm actually a fairy and I am a lady in waiting to this queen fairy that lives on this island called the Isle of Pleasures. Again, in very French Madame d'Aulnoy fashion, she gives this big backstory. This fairy fell in love with a human man who didn't want her, and that made her hate all men, so she built a palace on this island and hired Amazons to come and be her guards, and no men are allowed there. Now that queen's kind of secluded and a recluse, and her daughter runs the whole place. She's the beautiful queen that the girl he just rescued worked for. Leander's like, I'd love to meet this queen. And she's like, no, you're a man, you're not allowed. So what do you think he does? He turns invisible and follows her there and goes anyway. So the queen is really beautiful. He immediately wants her. She has a bunch of parrots. So he pretends to be a parrot while he's invisible, and like in a parrot voice is like, your serving girl got rescued by this really brave, dashing, awesome man. You should invite him here and give him a chance. Sorry, my parrot's really bad. But she's like, okay, weird thing to say, parrot, but no. So in very Edward Cullen fashion, he just observes her invisibly for a long time. He interacts with her without her knowing it, pretends to be a parrot a lot, writes her poetry that he delivers through the parrot. He paints a portrait of himself holding a portrait of her and has that just appear. He brings her gifts from around the world, sings songs to her, and it says that this all flatters and frightens her, and she thinks maybe a demon is involved. Understandably. In the meantime, Furibon's dad has died, he's become king, and he's heard of how beautiful this fairy princess is, and so without having seen her, he decides he wants her and is gonna come attack the island. Leander dresses as an Amazon, goes to Furibon's camp and tries to reason with him. He offers him money to leave the queen alone, and Furibon takes the money but then plans to go kidnap her anyway. So Leander cuts off his head and goes and delivers his head to the fairy princess. But he's still invisible. When he brings it in, the head looks like it's suspended in the air. The head gets laid at her feet and she hears a voice say, "Don't worry, he won't bother you anymore." The maiden that he rescued is there and she's like, "That's the voice of the dude who rescued me, princess." But she's still like, "I don't know about this." So Leander goes back to Furibon's army, reveals himself, and they're all like, "Oh, thank God, we hated Furibon. We were totally gonna follow you now." So he gets to be king of that kingdom now. He goes back to the princess's castle, for once respects her boundaries, and sleeps in a different room. And he falls asleep and his cap falls off. And so the fairies and the princess all come in and they see him there. Now when she sees him, she's instantly like, "Oh, he's gorgeous." But she's scared her mom's gonna be mad she let a man in. And just then her mom shows up. She's like, "How could you let a man in?" And she's like, "But I like this man." And she's like, "How can you like men when I told you they're terrible?" Then Gentile, the snake fairy, arrives and she's like, "Let me tell you about this man. He saved me. He's actually a good man. You should give him a chance." So the queen's like, "Oh, okay, I'll give him a chance." He wakes up, he and the fairy princess get married, and he gets to be king of that kingdom now too. I guess he's not quite as bad as like the romantic hero of Sun, Moon, and Talia, the Italian Sleeping Beauty, where he impregnates Sleeping Beauty while she's asleep and then gets to marry her and be the hero. I don't know, he's still kind of a douche though. Check out my book Dust Spells, a reimagining of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and my podcast Folktales and Fairy Lore, link is in the bio.